finally took a much needed vacation from Schneider Bulk. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been at Schneider Bulk for 9 months now, and I've only gotten 3 days of paid time off in my 9 months working there. So I intend on using those 3 days of PTO for the 4th of July holiday week. Now, I do get my 2 full weeks of vacation after 1 year of service. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 months here at Schneider Bulk, not quitting yet. But yes, it is nice to have a little break from working there. Now, this is really my first time actually taking paid time off in trucking, which is crazy. I've been trucking for 11 months overall. So as many of you may know, I've been trucking at Gordon Food Service for 2 months. Didn't work out, unfortunately. And the past 9 months, I've been at Schneider Bulk. So yes, I'm almost at my 1 year experience mark, but not quite. So I decided to compile a list of the pros and cons of working at Schneider to help new Schneider employees, since I believe hiring is, ramping up this summer. So I just want to make this little video for you guys to help you guys out. Now, like I said, taking a much needed break from Schneider, and I'm still filming content for the masses because I love you guys. Now let's start with the pros. The first pro is their operating centers. Schneider has several operating centers around the country, and they each offer various amenities for drivers. These amenities include showers, access to laundry, access to company cars. They also have access to fuel at some of the operating centers for drivers. And basically, if you're somebody that's taking a 10-hour reset or a 34-hour reset at one of the Schneider facilities, they pretty much have everything you need to make you comfortable, which is awesome. And in addition to all the amenities at the operating centers, Schneider also has access to driver services at some of these operating centers. Now, in case you don't want to call anybody because they're hard to reach, you have access to somebody in person that can help you with any questions. Now, if you're somebody that does not have access to an operating center and you're out on the road, and let's just say you have a breakdown. Number 3 on my pros list is that you do have access to an emergency hotline. You have access to third shift dispatch. I hear different things, mixed reviews about them. They may be helpful, they may not be helpful, they may be hard to reach, but there is resources for truck drivers at Schneider if you do need it, no matter what time of day it is. So that is another pro for working at Schneider. And essentially, if you're in trouble, no matter what time of day it is, you do have access to emergency maintenance, and they're pretty quick. They get you rolling. And in my experience, you probably don't even need to use emergency maintenance because, number 4, Schneider takes care of their equipment. Their equipment is top notch. I don't really see very many Schneider drivers broken down on the side of the road. Unlike certain other trucking companies, Schneider takes pride in their equipment, especially at Schneider Bulk. I mean, I have yet to see a Schneider Bulk trucks broke down on the road. That's just my opinion. But then again, I'm on a dedicated regional account. I don't go coast to coast. I don't go across the country. But if you're somebody that's experienced multiple breakdowns at Schneider, let me know your experience down in the comments below, because me personally, I've never been broken down long enough to miss multiple days of work. If anything, I've probably had a check engine light, maybe a flat tire, but that's it. I've pretty much worked every single day of the week since I've worked at Schneider. And given the fact that Schneider takes so much pride in keeping their equipment safe for the drivers, it contributes to the overall safety of the company. Schneider is arguably the strictest company in the country in terms of safety. In fact, you know how Schneider is. It's emphasized from day one to wear your safety vest, to wear your steel-toed, slip-resistant boots. Flip-flops are not allowed at Schneider, no matter what division you're in. And if you are a bulk driver or a flatbed driver, you have to wear the long sleeve shirts and the pants to go with that safety vest and those steel-toed, slip-resistant shoes. That's Schneider's policy. It is what it is. Now, Schneider has very, very high expectations for their drivers. And despite the expectations being so high, perhaps one of the biggest cons of working at Schneider would be the pay. Now, it's not necessarily the low pay despite the high expectations. It's the fluctuations in pay, in my experience at least. Now, if my pay was low and the pay was consistently low, that would be okay. I can tolerate something like that. Now, because my pay is fluctuating constantly, you guys saw in my previous video that there was like a 35% difference between my last two paychecks. Someone who isn't in my situation, perhaps, may not be able to handle the fluctuations in pay if they don't have that many experiences. But me, I can tolerate it, of course. You know, I did just move into a new apartment, by the way, and moving is very, very expensive, but I can deal with it. I can handle it. But somebody who else may not be able to handle it. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. You may have to deal with fluctuations in pay, and depending on what division you choose, it may be low pay. That's just something to keep in mind if you decide to come to Schneider, whether you go on the flatbed division, the bulk division, intermodal, drive-in. All of this advice I'm giving to you guys is all encompassing, by the way. Now, another con about working at Schneider is the PTO and the way it accrues. Like I said, I'm finally taking a break from Schneider, but I've been here for 9 months and I've only gotten 3 days of PTO. That's 24 hours of paid time off. Schneider employees are eligible for 3 days, 24 hours of paid time off after 6 months of service. They have to wait a full year to get 2 weeks of paid time off. I'm not sure how many hours that is, but keep in mind, truck drivers work up to 70 hours a week. So I don't think that's a fair trade-off, in my opinion, to only get 24 hours of paid vacation, basically 8 hours a day, when truck drivers work easily 12 to 14 hour days. But hey, that's just my opinion. That's just me personally. And here's the thing. If you decide to take time off while at Schneider before your 6 months, you're not going to get paid for that. You know, it's that saying that goes, if the wheels aren't turning, you ain't earning, or something like that. Yeah. And I can see why people emphasize the importance of not, quote unquote, becoming a slave to the truck, because a lot of people cannot afford to take time off. And that's a very, very dangerous financial situation to be in my opinion, to not be able to afford to miss work, because given the nature of trucking, how unpredictable it is, how unhealthy this lifestyle is, what if you were to have a health event? And that brings me to the next con. Let's say you do have a health event, short-term disability, long-term disability, or let's just say you injure yourself, workers' comp. That, in most cases, is only 60 to 80% of your take-home pay. Whatever number that is, I guess the average of that takes 60 to 80% of that. That's how much you would make if you were to get sick or injured. And it's not just Schneider. That's any job, by the way. That's any job. If you get sick or injured, expect to take a 20 to 40% pay cut. It is what it is. A lot of people can't afford to do that. So, like I said, that's a very, very dangerous financial situation to be in. Another con about Schneider is that they kind of mislead drivers, in my opinion, when it comes to their holiday pay. On their website, I'll put a screenshot right here. They say that you can get paid holidays. Well, I've been here for 9 months. I haven't received any paid holidays. And it wasn't until after around Thanksgiving, because that's when I went solo, that I realized I didn't actually get any holiday pay for Thanksgiving. But it turns out you have to work here for 1 full year before you get paid holidays. So that's another thing to just be aware of. And maybe after me releasing this video, they may change it on their website to indicate for new drivers that you only get that benefit after working here for 1 year. But at the time of me shooting this video, it says that you get paid holidays, but it leaves off the fact that you have to wait 1 full year before you get it. And lastly, a con that may piss off a lot of people is their hands-free policy. Personally, it doesn't bother me because I don't use headsets, and I'm not gonna name drop, but I see drivers everywhere with headsets that work for Schneider. Not gonna name drop, but here's my thing. Schneider doesn't have inward facing cameras, not yet at least. They don't have inward facing cameras yet. So how can they really enforce a rule like this? Really, in reality, it's an honor system. Now, if the right person catches you with a headset on while driving, then tough luck. You're sadly out of luck. You may lose your job. I'm just saying. But yeah, Schneider has a very strict cell phone policy. Cell phones are not allowed. You guys know what happened to Bobby Reach and Tiki. They got fired for, violating their hands-free policy. They put a GoPro camera on their head. They recorded themselves while driving. That's not allowed either. So yeah, those are the pros and cons about working for Schneider. The general pros and cons. If you enjoy videos like this, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. I'm Tasia Woods, and I'll see you next time.